Have you ever wondered what would happen if the sun stopped rising for 3 whole days? What if someone claimed they saw this from the other side of death? In today's video, you'll hear the true story of Madison Ray Carter, a nurse who died and returned with an urgent message from Jesus about the 3 days of darkness, the rapture, and the great deception that is about to take over the world. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below which city you're watching from. Let's spread the word. My name is Madison Ray Carter. I'm 39 years old and I've worked as an emergency room nurse at Jackson Regional Hospital for 14 years. I've seen a lot. Horrific accidents, people fighting for their lives, others surrendering themselves into my arms. But never, not even during my worst shifts, did I imagine I would be the one to die there, on that cold floor of the Red Ward. It was a Tuesday in early March. I was on night shift, exhausted after nearly 18 hours of chaos. The flu had spread through the city like wildfire, and the emergency room looked like a war zone. I remember filling out a chart when I felt as if someone had shut off the world around me. A muffled buzzing began in my ears, as if I were submerged in water. Then came the pressure in my chest, strong, sudden, as if an invisible hand were trying to rip my soul out through my ribs. My legs gave out. I heard a scream. I think it was my own, and I fell. Everything went white. And then, absolute silence. I thought I was dreaming, but it wasn't a dream. I was hovering above my body, watching my classmates running, shouting my name. They were fighting to bring me back, but I was at peace. I felt a lightness, a freedom I'd never known on earth. Everything inside me said, "Don't be afraid." It was then that the hospital ceiling simply had disappeared, as if the physical world were being ripped from the scene. I was pulled upward, as if I were being carried by a force that wasn't wind or gravity. It was willing. I crossed a space without time, without sound, and then the darkness. But it was no ordinary darkness. It was a black cloak, dense, deep, almost alive. It enveloped me completely, and in the midst of that darkness, a light began to emerge, dim at first like a candle thread, but growing until it became a golden ocean, and wings. No center of the heap, Jesus. It wasn't like the images or stained glass windows in the church. It was living majesty, a power so great my being nearly disintegrated, but at the same time, love, a love that can't be explained, only felt. And when he spoke my name, Madison Ray, I knew it was real, more real than anything I'd ever experienced. "Do not be afraid," he said, "but listen carefully. What I'm going to show you will happen very soon." He took me to a place that I can't compare to anything on earth. It was like being out of time, in a dimension where everything was pure consciousness. I didn't walk, but I moved. I didn't hear with my ears, but I felt the words directly in my soul. Jesus stood before me, radiant as the sun itself, but not blinding. He was light, and at the same time, he held the entire universe in his eyes. And it was with a look full of love and gravity that he said to me, "The world as you know it is reaching its limit, and a time of darkness has been decreed since the foundation of the earth. Now it is approaching." It was then that everything around us changed. I saw myself hovering above the earth, as if I were in space, right next to him. The sight was breathtaking. The planet was beautiful, blue, pulsating, but something was wrong. A huge shadow was moving towards Earth. "Do you see?" he asked me. "This approaching celestial body is no accident. I sent it. It will fulfill a sacred purpose." The sphere was immense, black as burnt coal, and seemed to devour all the light it passed. Jesus then said something that still echoes in my mind. "For 3 days and 3 nights, this body will hide the sun, and there will be a darkness such as the world has never known." I watched as the shadow swallowed the sunlight, like a global eclipse, but total, complete, absolute. I saw cities plunge into darkness, lights going out, cars stopping, planes crashing, a global paralysis. Jesus continued, "Science will provide explanations. They will say it is a natural phenomenon, but those who know me will know. It is my hand. It is my voice calling hearts. It will be the time of separation." What was shown to me next left me breathless. I saw families running, people screaming, banging on doors, trying to escape something invisible that was approaching. A horrible feeling began to grow inside me, a spiritual terror, because the darkness that covered the world was not just physical, it was spiritual. It was as if the evil that had always lurked in the corners of the world was finally allowed to roam free. Ancient demons will be released, he said. They will roam the streets, the houses, imitating the voices of the departed, of those you love. My soul cried out, Lord, this is horrible. How will people survive? And then he answered firmly and compassionately, they will have the chance to choose, to seek me, to find me in the darkness. But those who mocked, who hardened their hearts, who hid behind the lights and the noise, they will be exposed to the emptiness they have built within themselves. I was shaking, even out of my body. I could feel the impact of it, but then something else came into the vision. Silent homes, with people kneeling, lit white candles, covered windows, closed doors, and over these homes, I saw a golden light, pulsating, protective. They were the ones who had prepared themselves. Tell them to go in, to lock themselves in, not to look outside, not to open the door, not even if they hear the voices of their children, parents, siblings, for the enemy will imitate even sighs to deceive you. But those who obey, I myself will protect. My angels will surround your homes. I was in shock. My spiritual heart wanted to scream, cry, warn the world. But Jesus looked at me tenderly, as if he already knew the weight of the mission he was entrusting me with. You haven't seen the most important thing yet, he said. In the midst of this darkness will come the greatest miracle in human history. When Jesus said the greatest miracle would happen in the depths of darkness, I didn't understand right away. How could something so glorious come from such a terrifying moment? He looked at me with a gentle intensity, as if he were about to show me something that would change everything, not just for me, but for all of humanity. Pay attention, Madison, because what I'm about to reveal to you now, few are prepared to understand. Suddenly, as if in the blink of an eye, the darkened earth appeared before us again. But this time, something was changing. In the midst of the total darkness, small points of light, like embers igniting on the ground. 1, 2, tens, thousands, bursts of golden light coming out of cemeteries, forests, deserts, mountains. And then he spoke, they are mine, those who died believing in me, the righteous, those whose bodies sleep, but whose names are written in my book, the resurrection of the dead. It was before my eyes, happening in real time. I saw tombs opening, but not like in horror movies. It was a dance of light. Bodies were transformed into glorified beings, pure, incorruptible. An intense glow filled every inch of the planet. The ground exploded in silent glory. And then, inside the darkened houses, I saw the faithful in prayer, their faces bathed in candlelight. And something even more extraordinary happened. They also started to shine. These are my living ones, my children who have not bowed down to the world. They will be transformed. In the blink of an eye, they will be like me, immortal, untouchable. I watched men, women, and even children rise from the ground, their eyes filled with tears and their bodies transfigured into pure light. They crossed the roofs of the house as if matter could no longer contain them, and they were taken up to heaven towards Jesus. It was the rapture, and it was happening in the middle of the 3 days of darkness. I wanted to shout with joy, but also with sadness, because not everyone was being taken. I saw many who claimed to know Jesus, but who remained attached to the world, to vanity, to sin. They were at home, but they didn't shine. They were kneeling, but their prayers came from their lips, not from their hearts. They stayed. Why, Lord? I asked, crying. For my eyes see the heart. It is not enough to know my name. You must walk with me, love me above all else. Those who live a lukewarm faith, who put me last, who love the world more than the truth, these will be part of the second harvest. If they choose not to bow down to the beast, I will receive them. But many will have to die for me to live eternally. I saw these people fall to the ground, despairing, their faces bathed in tears of belated regret, a pain so deep it was almost physical, even in that spiritual realm. And I understood the weight of what he was showing me. The greatest glory in human history will occur amidst the greatest terror. Only those who are in me, Madison, will understand that darkness is merely the backdrop to my miracle. I trembled. The revelation was so immense that I felt small, unable to contain so much. And yet, he wasn't finished. You have to see what happens next. Because when the sunlight returns, the world will be different, and those who remain will have to decide whose side they are on. After the divine spectacle I'd seen, the dead being resurrected, saints being transformed and raptured in the midst of darkness, I thought this was the climax. But Jesus looked at me with infinite eyes and said, "The miracle opens the way, but the judgment is not yet over. When the light returns, the deception will begin." The scene changed. I saw myself again observing the earth, still shrouded in darkness. But then, as if by a sudden sunrise, the light returned. It was as if the world had breathed again after a long drowning. People emerged from their homes, disoriented, staggering through the streets. Some were crying. Others smiled as if they had escaped a nightmare. But then, the heavens were torn with a sound like 1,000 thunders. And what came down from on high, it wasn't light. It was an illusion. Now begins the time of deception. Those who remain, Madison, will have to choose. And what they see will make them doubt even what is real. We shiny ships, shining like crystals, crossing the skies. Tall beings, human in appearance but with cold eyes, descended from them. They wore metallic cloaks and spoke all languages. They claimed to be our protectors, the ancient creators, the help the planet has always awaited. The crowds believed. They'll say the darkness was cosmic interference, that the disappearance of people was a vibrational realignment, an evolutionary leap. I saw world leaders, scientists, even pastors bowing before these entities, saying it was time to unite faiths and overcome religious divisions. I saw a new system emerge, fast, organized, seductive. He offered peace, security, technology, food, but there was one condition: accept a signal. Without it, no one will be able to buy, sell, or work. And I saw this sign. It was something you put on your skin, on the forehead or on the right hand. It had the form of light, but within it was a code, a living, pulsating mark. And those who received it, changed inside, something in them faded. Their eyes lost their shine. Their soul turned gray. "It is the mark of the beast," Jesus said with pain in his voice. "It will not be imposed by force. It will be desired, requested, worshipped." Then I saw the who stayed behind and refused to accept the mark, men and women hiding in caves, in abandoned houses, in forests. They were hunted, imprisoned, many killed. But in their eyes there was something the world could not erase: true faith. They chose me in their darkest hour, and because of that, I will receive them. Even if they missed the first rapture, there is still redemption. But I also saw other Christians who thought they were ready, but surrendered to the system out of fear. They said, "God knows my heart," as they received the mark, thinking they might regret it later. Jesus looked at me with deep sadness and said, "Tell them, Madison, the time for playing faith is over. Those who do not seek me with all their hearts now will be deceived, because the deception will be so powerful that even the elect will be deceived. If it were possible." My heart broke. The image of the new world was bleak. Cities rebuilt with alien technology, people living connected to a single system, everyone marked, but above all, a spiritual silence, as if the light had left that world. "You have seen the future of those who reject my protection. Now, I show you the last truth you must witness before I return." Jesus enveloped me again in his presence, and with a gentle movement of his hand, the vision ceased. It was just the two of us, suspended in that place between worlds. Everything was light and peace, but I knew what was coming now was the most important thing. "Madison," he said, his voice firm and full of love, "there is a truth that needs to be told even if it hurts. Many of my children believe they know me, but their hearts are far from me." These words, they went through me like lightning. Even in that spiritual state, I felt his pain, a pain that came not from anger but from rejected love. Then he reached out and showed me something that broke me inside. Full churches, but empty hearts. I saw choirs singing, hands raised, leaders preaching with enthusiasm, but behind the smiling faces, I saw pride, vanity, greed, hidden sin. I saw Christians living double lives, worshiping on Sunday and drowning in the world on Monday. They call to me with their lips, but deny me with their choices. They are lukewarm. They are neither cold nor hot. And I have warned them. The lukewarm will be vomited out of my mouth. Then I saw houses where entire families lived, accustomed to the Christian routine, but without intimacy with God. Parents who talked about Jesus but never sought him in the secret room. Young people who knew verses but preferred the darkness of social media and entertainment. Marriages in ruins, friendships destroyed, hidden addictions, and all this within the church. Jesus looked at me and said, "These are the ones who will stay, the ones who thought they were saved just by being part of a religion. But salvation isn't about membership, Madison. It's about surrender, complete, total, without reservation." I cried. I knew that message wasn't just for the world. It was for the church. It was for me. And then, he took me to a different place, an open, silent field. In it, there was only a large tree, and beneath it, I saw a small group of people, kneeling, praying, with their faces to the ground. There was a palpable presence there. There was no music, no microphone, no crowd, just brokenness. These are my remnant, those whom no one sees but I know, those who mourn for the sins of the world, those who prefer my presence to applause. They are my chosen ones. And in that moment, I understood. The big secret of the next phase wouldn't be being in a famous place and or with lots of people around. The safe place would be hidden in him, in secret, in obedience, in sincere repentance. It was there that light would survive the darkness. He came closer to me, and I felt his touch once more. And then, something unexpected happened. The silence. A silence unlike any other I felt on that journey. It was the silence of decision, as if the entire sky were holding its breath, an eternal moment where every soul, every nation, every heart, I had to choose. And then Jesus spoke for the last time in this place. You've already seen what's coming. The judgment, the miracle, the lie, the glory, the choice. Now, Madison, you must go back and warn, shout if you must, but say it clearly. The time for decision is now. The clock in heaven is counting down, and the day of darkness already has a set date. I trembled. I knew my mission was no longer to live as before, but there was still more to see. The return, the impact, why I was chosen. When Jesus said I needed to return, something inside me entered into deep conflict. I didn't want to. How could I go back to that limited existence after having seen eternity pulsing before my eyes? Lord, I don't know if I can do it. Down there is noise, pain, confusion. Here is home. Here is life. He approached me. His gaze was pure tenderness, but it also carried an authority that silenced the universe. You're not going back to living as you were before. You're going back as witness, like a watchman, like a voice in the desert. At that moment, I saw a quick image, my hospital bed, my fragile body, intubated, connected to wires. Nurses and doctors were moving urgently. Someone was crying in the corner of the room. It was my sister. You still have something to accomplish among the living. Your time is not over, and thousands will hear what you have to say. Even if they mock, even if they ignore, they will know. And on the day of darkness, they will remember. I felt my spirit begin to be pulled. It was as if I were being pulled into a funnel, a whirlwind of light and wind. But before I was thrown back, Jesus said something that it was engraved in fire in my soul. Don't try to convince the world with logic. Speak from the heart, because those who have spiritual ears will hear, and those who mock today will cry out for help tomorrow. Plant now, I will reap. And then, total darkness. No sound, no sight, no form. A cold emptiness swallowed me. And then, pain. A searing pain shot through my chest as if a bolt of lightning had struck me. I heard voices, screams, alarms. She's coming back. We have a pulse. My eyes flew open. The fluorescent overhead light nearly blinded me. My entire body ached. I felt as if I'd been hit by a truck. I tried to move my arms, but they were tied down. Tubes were running down my throat. Everything was confusing, brutal, shocking. But there, in the midst of that chaos, my spirit still carried the memory of every detail. I knew it wasn't delirium. It wasn't a hallucination of a dying brain. I was there. I saw him. I was warned. I was in a coma for 2 days. When I finally woke up, My sister was beside me. She whispered, "You're back. Madison, you're back." I wanted to speak, but only tears flowed, because I knew my life had been divided into before and after. Before, the dedicated nurse, the woman who believed in God when there was time. After, the witness to one of heaven's greatest secrets. In the days that followed, doctors surrounded me with astonishment. "You weren't supposed to come back, Madison," the cardiologist said. "Your heart stopped for almost 12 minutes. Technically, it was impossible. But you came back, and without any after effects. But I knew why. Jesus sent me back with an urgent message, and as hard as it was, I had to speak up. In the days after my recovery, I could barely sleep. It wasn't from the trauma of the cardiac arrest. It was from the urgency that burned in my chest. It was as if something was constantly reminding me, time is running out. They need to know. They need to know. It was impossible to ignore. Even weak, with my body still recovering, I felt my soul more alive than ever. Every detail of the vision I'd seen was vividly etched in my mind, more real than any earthly memory. It wasn't like a dream that dissolves. It was like a spiritual tattoo. And the message? Simple, clear, and devastating. Prepare yourself. The day of darkness will come, not as a metaphor, but as a literal event. The world will stop, the sky will scream, and the separation will begin. I began to write down everything I saw, pages and pages. My hands trembled, my eyes cried alone, and yet, I continued. I knew this wasn't just for me. It was for anyone who was still spiritually asleep. Jesus' message echoed within me like silent thunder. Cover your windows. Enter your homes when the skies change color. Don't open the door. Don't look outside, no matter how many times you hear your names being called. Have water, food, and unscented white candles. Gather your people together, even those who don't believe, especially those who don't believe. For 3 days and nights the world will stop, but Thesky will move. I knew what it sounded like. An apocalyptic theory, a religious delusion, but every part of me knew it was nothing of the sort. It was a royal divine alert, and the world was not ready. I started telling a few people close to me. Some cried, others called me crazy, and it hurt, because when you see what I saw, being discredited is a pain that screams in the spirit. But then I remembered what Jesus told me. Don't try to convince, just speak. Whoever has ears to hear, will hear. One night, while still in the hospital, I had a little glimpse, like a spiritual memory activated. I saw people preparing after hearing my testimony. I saw families gathered in prayer. I saw houses illuminated with soft light in the midst of darkness. And I understood, it's not about convincing everyone. It's about reaching the right people, even if it were 1 in 1,000. Even if it were just one soul, saved from destruction, it would be worth it. And then, a question invaded my heart. Why me? Why would Jesus choose me, of all people? An ordinary nurse from the southern United States, with my lukewarm faith, my flaws, my fears, and in that instant, a phrase echoed like a holy whisper, because you didn't seem ready. But I saw what was hidden in you. At that moment, I understood. Jesus is not looking for the strong, the theologians, the perfect. He is seeking those who are available, those who can still tremble before the truth. And I was shaking. Since my return, everything I saw around me seemed different. People went about their daily lives, glued to screens, schedules, bills, as if nothing were about to happen, as if the world was not on the brink of spiritual collapse. But I knew. Did you know that the heavens were already whispering? I knew the heavenly gears were in motion. It was then that, one morning when I could barely sleep, I had a second vision, shorter, but as intense as the first. I was sitting in my room, praying quietly, when suddenly the atmosphere changed. The air became dense, charged, the walls disappeared, and there I was, looking at the sky again. But this time, the sky was not blue. The clouds were heavy with unreal colors, vivid reds, metallic greens, electric blues, as if the aurora borealis were dancing furiously in places they never appear. And there was a sensation in the air, like liquid electricity seeping through your pores. This is how it begins, a voice said. When the skies become a spectacle never before seen, it will be the signal, the final warning. I saw people standing in the streets, staring up, mesmerized. Some were taking pictures, Others were crying without understanding why. I saw animals going crazy, birds circling, dogs howling, and in the midst of it all, one thing became clear. Nature will know before man. When you see the sky change color, go home, run, go inside, lock everything up, gather your loved ones, cover the windows, light the candles, and wait. The voice was solemn, unbreakable, and then the picture changed. I saw families that remembered the warning and they did everything right. I saw others that doubted, who mocked, and opened the door when they heard a child's voice, but was not a child. It was something that looked like, that imitated, that cried out in desperation, but it was pure evil. And the horror that came through that door, I don't even want to describe it. I can only say that obedience to that simple order, do not open, do not look, do not yield, meant the difference between life and death. And then Jesus spoke again. The instruction is simple, but it will be difficult, because it will test the soul, not the intelligence, not the strength, but faith. He showed me huge angels standing over houses, guardians of light with flaming swords, ready to defend those who obeyed. Even those with little faith, if they obey, will be protected. But even those with great faith, if they act with pride or curiosity, will be in danger. I returned to my room with a start. I was sweating, but calm, because now I knew. The visible sign would come from the heavens. The day when the heavens scream with colors man has never seen will be the last warning of mercy. And so 3 days and nights. Silence, darkness, torment for the world, miracle for the prepared. The countdown has already begun. The clock in heaven is not late. From that second vision, something in me changed forever. I was no longer just a survivor. I was bearer of a divine warning, and as crazy as it sounded to the world, inside me there was an unbreakable certainty. Darkness is coming, but it's not just physical darkness. It's not just the absence of the sun. What was revealed to me goes far beyond science. Jesus showed me that the 3 days and nights of darkness are not just a celestial phenomenon, are a spiritual filter. Madison, he said, at that time the whole earth will be passed through the sieve of faith. It will be like a heavenly sieve. Everything false will be swept away. Everything real will remain. And then he showed me 3 types of people. The mockers. These are the ones who will laugh at the signs, who will say, this is religious hysteria, who will call the warnings conspiracy theories. I saw these men and women in the vision. Many even held pulpits and positions of influence. Their homes had electricity, but no spiritual light. When darkness falls, they will be the first to open the door. They will be the first to hear voices from outside and believe them. And when they open, it will be too late. The lukewarm ones. These caused me special pain. They were people who knew the truth, who grew up hearing about Jesus, who even had Bibles on their shelves, praise songs on their playlists, verses in their stories, but had no relationship with God. They lived on the border between the world and the sky. They drank from both sources. They played at being Christians. These will remain, not because God does not love them, but because never made a true delivery. In the day of darkness, Jesus said, they will see those they love taken away, and the repentance that comes will be painful, but it can still save them if they resist deception. The preparations, these are the ones who won't have answers for everything, who still feel weak, flawed, small, but who deeply love the presence of God. They heard the warnings. They obeyed even though they didn't understand. They have enough faith to lock themselves away, pray, and wait. These will be saved. These will see the heavens open and the angels descend. These will be caught up in glory. In the vision, I saw a multitude being separated like wheat from chaff, not by appearance, not by religion, not by titles, but for something invisible. There'll state of the heart. I've seen leaders fall behind, and I've seen unknown, quiet, humble people being elevated with heavenly songs. It was then that Jesus told me the most powerful sentence of the entire experience. In the time of darkness, Madison, every soul will find itself facing eternity itself. Whoever did not seek me in the light will scream in the dark, but he who walked with me in silence will be exalted in the midst of the storm. Those words crushed me inside. I knew what was coming. It was not a poetic metaphor. It was real, literal. Next, you weren't chosen because you were special, he told me. You were chosen because you were willing, because despite the noise of the world, you could still hear my voice. I understood then that every witness to the truth is an echo of divine mercy, and that, in the end, the great darkness will not be the end, but the last warning cry before the door closed. It's been weeks since I returned from that threshold between worlds, and even now, as I write this, I know that I carry a responsibility I did not choose, but I accepted. Every day since that return, I feel as if heaven were closer, and also quieter, as if God were waiting for our decisions, waiting for our delivery, waiting to fulfill what He has already decreed. And so, I need to end this testimony with the simplest, yet most urgent message I have ever received. Get ready, because the night is coming, and with it, the King. Jesus didn't show me the exact day, but He showed me the visible, unmistakable signs, which will precede the 3 days and nights of darkness. The skies will change color, shades never seen before will dance over our heads. The electricity in the air will be palpable, hair standing on end, static on objects, the invisible omen of rupture. Animals will act strangely. Their instincts will sense what many human hearts ignore. And then, the sun will stop rising, not by eclipse, not by clouds, but by divine decree. And in the silence that follows, every home will be a sanctuary or a spiritual battlefield. Cover your windows, close your doors, light your candles, and pray. Don't look, don't listen, don't open, for whatever walks out there will not be human. I saw legions of demons loose, screaming like winds. I saw houses being surrounded and tested, where voices imitated mothers, children, husbands. I saw hearts being ripped out by disobedient curiosity. But I also saw fire angels positioning themselves over the houses of the faithful, impossible lights exploding inside the dwellings where praise was heard, the very Spirit of God hovering about those who simply trusted. And in an instant, when no one could take it anymore, when time seemed to have frozen, the light came back on, and those who remained faithful were no longer there, raptured, transformed, reunited with Him. Those who stayed, they looked up at the clear skies and understood it was real, it was true, it was late, and that's why I'm here, not to make you afraid, but for break the silence, why darkness is coming, and I can't carry this warning alone. Prepare your house, repent, forgive me, pray as if He were listening because He is. Talk to your family, even if they laugh, write letters, record videos, testify. Don't wait to see the skies change before taking action, because when that happens, the door will already be closing. Jesus sent me back with a mission. Be a little light, Madison, even if it is in just one home, even if it reaches just one soul. In the darkness, a small flame can save an eternity, and I chose to obey. Now it's your turn. You don't need to understand everything. You just need to say yes to the light before it goes out. If you enjoyed this beautiful spiritual testimony, please leave a like, comment, share your impressions, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell to watch each new video and help us spread this message to a greater number of people. Until next time.